I've butchered so many they don't even seem like they're there anymore. Oh, the pixelation is still there? I guess that's because of all the slaughtering I've been doing. Oh well. I'm coming for you, amorphous blob of materials! Ladies, gentlemen, and pals of all ages, this lovely game has an unbelievable amount of mechanics within it, a ridiculous amount of depth, and while a lot of things can be relatively simple at the surface, oftentimes even more mundane things in the game have secrets that can really help you out long term. So today we're going to go over another round of secrets, tips, and tricks within Palworld to help make your journey a bit easier, or maybe just a bit more enjoyable. First up then, let's go back to something we've talked about before, which is the Statue of Power. Until a recent patch, this was bugged so that any ranks of capture power you bought with Leaf Monk effigies here didn't work properly at all, instead resulting in your actual capture rate being lower than what you saw on the screen once you had enough ranks, and it was a bit of a mess, but then it was patched and now it's all good, right? Well, it's not quite the case, the main reason being that while the fix is in the game, it will only actually take effect when your capture power changes, meaning that you need to upgrade at the statue in the new patch to actually increase your capture power to the proper rates again, which for a lot of people isn't a massive deal, but for anyone who was already maxed out before the patch, apparently it's actually even worse now than it was before it was fixed. So this is just to say, hey, if you stopped upgrading because of that bug, you should definitely do an upgrade now post-patch to put yourself on the correct numbers, and if you were already maxed before, I wish you the best of luck on it being patched even further. Next, let's talk about space.
What's your favorite thing about space? Mine is space.
Not space in your base, but space in your PAL box. You're limited to around 500 PALs in the box at a time, and given that doing the whole condensing process for a singular PAL takes up 117 of those slots for the process, and there are more than 100 different PAL species in the game too, it's actually really easy to fill those 500 out once you get further into the game. That said, there's a handy tool called the viewing cage, of which the intended purpose is so you can display PALs in a nice area within your base without having them take up a basework slot. So they don't have to work, they just hang out and have fun, and you get to look at them and enjoy them. The thing is, these viewing cages have 40 PAL slots each, and they don't count as base workers, and they also don't count as box spaces, so for all intents and purposes, you can absolutely use these viewing cages as a sort of PAL storage container, holding 40 at a time outside of your box. After that, we have a gunpowder farm. Generally speaking, you can get gold extremely quickly in the later stages of the game, and you can use gold to purchase ammo, but that does exclude two types, sort of. First, rocket launcher ammo. That's just not sold at all, so you still need gunpowder to craft that if you want it. But then also, second is handgun ammo. You can buy handgun ammo, but it is generally not efficient to do so, as most people make money early game by selling nails, which also cost ingots. So you generally just get more handgun ammo per ingot by crafting them because of the way the costs work. So for both of these, you do want a healthy supply of gunpowder, and one solid way to get that is to farm some unfortunate Toko, the exploding toucans. There's an awesome early game spawn for these guys right over here in the earlier game desert area, right southeast of the alpha Noob spawn by the beach. A good handful or two always spawn on this area. You can turn PAL appearance right up in the world settings if you want to as well to make even more show up. I don't have that on here, and they just respawn if you fly away a bit and then come back. They drop 1 or 2 gunpowder per kill on average, but they are all level 15 or less, so if you're high enough level with good enough balls, you can just insta-catch them and then butcher them later, which is a total of 2 to 4 gunpowder per Toko. And with this many spawns, you'll be swimming in gunpowder in no time. Then we have a couple of chest-based ones. There are tons of chests that spawn semi-randomly around the map. I say semi-randomly because there are set locations where they can spawn, they just don't always appear there at every spawn time. Among all these chests, there are a few that are extremely high value, especially because you can get them without any combat, which means you can also get them relatively early on in your journey, regardless of level if you want to, as long as you can actually reach the locations in the first place. The first set of chests here are the Wildlife Sanctuary chests. There are 3 Wildlife Sanctuary islands in the game, number 1 in the south, number 2 in the west, and number 3 all the way to the northeast. Sanctuary number 1 is more around level 20 to 30 PALs, but Sanctuary 2 and 3 are both level 40 plus PALs covering the islands. Regardless of that, the chests on all 3 of these islands are of equal value, and it's pretty solid. The trick to this then is that most, if not all, PALs on these islands are actually pretty passive, especially if you do this at night when a lot of them will be asleep too, which makes them leave you alone unless you actually attack them, which is great because each of these islands has 6 or so chest spawns around them, all of them essentially being the same quality potential as max level dungeon end chests, containing things like crazy accessories that can boost your power in various ways, like attack pendants for attack, higher level cold and heat resistance undershirts, not to mention tech point manuals for bonus technology points, as well as just other various materials and items that sell for a large amount of gold. All of these chests are absolutely worth it. They don't take long to open each spawn, and the only requirement is that you have the ability to actually reach these places, which is usually either a flying mount or a specifically water mount so it doesn't run out of stamina while swimming over. There is, however, another subset of chests, more than equal in value, but require a little bit more effort. These are gold key chests. chests. They require a gold key to open, and they contain lots of valuables, including things like large pal souls, which you'll need a fair few of if you want to fully upgrade various pals. For the most part, this will spawn around the big frozen mountain to the northwest, being extremely uncommon anywhere else. And all open world chests on this mountain have an equal chance of spawning as a gold key chest. That said, this spot right here is absolutely incredible, a raised circular ancient technological platform, and there are 4 chest spawns up here in a square shape, the most concentrated set of chests on this massive island. Each of them can be a gold key chest, and oftentimes even the ones that aren't will actually give you gold keys so you can open more of the gold chests. And so again, this is another thing that you can do without any sort of combat at all to farm some stuff that's a bit above your pay grade earlier in the game than you might expect. And the fun part is we aren't even in the cold part of the mountain here, so you don't even need temperature resistance, just the ability to fly up here in the first place for 4 guaranteed chest spawns. No guarantee of a gold chest, but I've had them all spawn as gold simultaneously once before, so the chances are definitely decent of at least one of these being gold. Then we have a lesser known tip when it comes to pals with saddles, and we actually talked about this quite a bit in a recent video about maximizing the power of the player themselves, which is that while there are quite a number of pals within this game whose partner skills list as changing player attack element type while riding, there is a hidden effect on those where they actually also raise your attack power while you're riding them too. So not only do you get elemental typing on your damage, which is great in itself, but also a notable damage boost, specifically being 50% player attack power boost at partner skill rank 1, all the way up to 100% player attack power boost at partner skill level 5. This is a pretty massive bump that can make shooting enemies from the back of a pal extremely effective, and the full list for those wondering is Pyron Noct and Moraith, who have this effect with dark element type applied to players, Pyron and Ragnahawk, who do this with fire element, Univolt and Beacon, who do this with electric type, Azarobe, who does this for water type, and then Chillet, who does it again for the dragon type attacks. Then finally, we have a bit of a unique tip for movement in the game that will just allow travel to distant places to become significantly easier than it was before. The only thing that you need are a flying mount and a gliding mount, the best of each in the game being Jetragon, the legendary who you can find as an alpha world boss on the volcano to the west, and Galeclaw, the fancy bird pal who spawns in a lot of earlier areas around level 20 or so. Most people understand flying mounts as they're clearly a big deal and people will use them, but there's also a lot of use to gliding mounts too, even though you might have assumed that they became obsolete the second you could fly. The main reason this isn't actually true then is because of the fact that gliding uses player stamina, whereas mounting uses pal stamina. So the trick here simply allows you to use your own stamina as a sort of reset for your flying mount. Ride the flying mount until it's nearly empty of stamina, jump off of it, and then start gliding. The Galeclaw gliding should keep most of the momentum from your flying mount, so the speed is still great. Also, you can fire your weapons while gliding on it, which is great in its own way, and by the time that you're running out of player stamina, you can stop gliding and just hold the mount button while aiming to land on top of your pal's head. It will black hole grab you from like 30 feet away. That's actually a really good distance that you can go onto them with this, so you don't die from fall damage, and then off you go on the flying mount. No breaks, no waiting for stamina, just quick, constant motion across the map towards your goal. And that just about does it for today then, everyone. Another collection of secrets, tips, and tricks that you may well have not known about Palworld. Hopefully at least some of these will either help you out on your journey or just make it more enjoyable by the extra knowledge that you now have. And of course, if you have any tips or tricks of your own, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.